Yo, what's up, everybody? Thor wins his complete game in his debut with the Phillies. Eagles training camp updates. What's going on with the back end of the wide receivers? Some questions on the defense and the offensive line that I want to bring up today. All this and more coming to you live right here on Trending the AM. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Gets around in front. And Philadelphia has it.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Friday here on Trending the AM. Another week about to wrap up in the sports world here in Philly. We got lots to talk about today. Phillies win last night, rain-shortened game. We'll be all over that game and the Noah Syndergaard Thor debut. Got Eagles training camp continues to ramp up. Last night, the first football game. Football's back. The Hall of Fame game happened last night. Did anybody watch it? I don't really think so. We got lots to talk about today. I'm Phil Stifler, your host at Beard and Knowledge. My main man, Jason Voorhees, is back today. He's had a busy week at work, just like me, but he is back in the co-host chair today to get into all that's happening here with the Phillies and Eagles. Good morning, Jason. Thank you for clearing those eyes out and getting on here with me this morning.
Yeah, it's been a rough week, but I love podcasting, so I'm glad to be back. I missed out on all the, trade deadline talk and stuff. So, but yeah, as you mentioned, we'll get right into Thor.
Yeah, let's dive into Thor. We're going to do Thor first. We're going to get into Eagles second. I got some interesting questions I want to talk about with Eagles and training camp. We'll see how much we get into it. So we won't spend 35 minutes on Phillies or anything like that today. We'll try to keep it to like 20, 25 minutes on the Phillies, and then we'll get into Eagles. So Thor debuted last night, and it was a shortened game. Obviously, bad weather blew. I knew the Phillies game wasn't going to happen because the weather hit me here in southern Chester County first. And, I thought we were going to lose power here. It was wicked, the storms coming through. I'm like, that's going to go right to the stadium, and it's going to shorten this game. But I tried to tell everybody right from the get-go when we were thinking about getting Thor, when we got Thor, everything. Noah Syndergaard is not the 24-year-old stud that he once was. We went through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I went through his game logs right here on Trending in the AM, trying to explain to people he is a lot more like Joe Blanton when we brought him into Philly than when we brought Cliff Lee into Philly or Roy Halladay into Philly. He isn't who people think he is. And he went 5 innings last night. The rain delay stopped the game. Then they canceled it. They called it. It was an official game. He gave up 11 hits last night. Did not walk a batter. Struck out 2. 11 of those hits, 10 of those 11 hits were singles last night. And I would say out of those 10 singles, 6 or 7 of them were blue pits. You know what I mean? Just, jamming guys. And they just there were 2 hits that the Phillies had a shift on and they beat the shift. They weren't like they were ripping the ball on him and hitting gappers or anything like that. So that is who Thor is. He's going to be a guy that's going to go 6 innings. He's going to give up 3 runs approximately, most nights out. He's going to keep us in ball games, though. 11 hits, you'd think that he would have given up 8, 9 runs. He actually was under 80 pitches last night. So he was able to do what he had to do, keep us in the game, better than having Bradley Falter out there, or a Nick Nelson bullpen game. It was also 150 million degrees out last night. He was sweating like hell out there. And, it's a big, big deal being on a playoff team coming from the Angels. So, overall, I think it went, considering all the different things, better than it seems. And I was just really frustrated last night, Jason, seeing 2 innings into the game, everybody just bashing Noah Syndergaard sucks. Dave Dombrowski made a mistake trading Mickey Moniak for Noah Syndergaard. All the bashing going on about this. People don't realize who Noah Syndergaard is. And last night was exactly what to expect on an average night. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's a lot to digest.
It is a lot to digest.
But once again, it just speaks to the volume of overreaction in this town.
Right.
Like, if you realistically look at Noah Syndergaard, as you said, he's not the Noah Syndergaard of 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
Right.
He's not the guy that was a dominant, 99 to 100 mile an hour fastball type pitcher. Obviously, he just is coming off Tommy John surgery. He missed the whole year and a half of, of baseball. It does take some time for these guys to come back and feel their way. But overall, if you look at his stats, I mean, he's not a guy that's going to blow you away with his fastball. As I said, 94 miles an hour, he probably averages like 94.
Yeah, he was sitting right last night, right around 93, 94. And again, it was super hot out. So that's
exactly. But the thing is I like the fact that he doesn't walk a lot of bats. He only has 22 walks on the year.
Right.
I'll take that any day of the week.
Right.
That's better than some of the slop that we've been throwing out there, as far as fill-in guys and bullpen guys.
Absolutely.
And listen, he's better than Zach Eflin. He's better than Ranger Suarez at this point.
Yeah.
I listen. We needed
Ranger Suarez has pitched better as
we
of late.
needed a starter going forward. We could not go into this run with 3 known commodities. Yes, Ranger Suarez could probably be better and has pitched better if you look at numbers. Yes.
Right.
But my point is that Noah Syndergaard is a veteran. You now have a guy, to help the team. Listen, Moniak wasn't doing anything here. Okay.
Right.
And the other guy I don't think was even rated on their prospects as far
Funny,
as
Mickey Moniak hit a home run in last night for the Angels.
And he also trashed us and said that he didn't get a chance with the Phillies.
I don't know if he trashed us. He was just being brutally honest. But anyway,
I don't know how he could say he didn't get a chance. But
to your point with the no walks from Noah Syndergaard last night, again, 5 innings last night, only 79 pitches. That's good. It's not like again, 11 hits. It sounds really bad. He gave up 1 double and 10 singles. They roped a couple singles together, got a couple runs at a couple different times. But honestly, I mean, like I said, there were 2 hits last night where they had to shift onto the right side, and they just hit it down the third base line because he jammed hitters, and they just got lucky. So I really don't think his outing was as bad as the stat line shows. His breaking ball last night, I don't know if it was the curveball or side. I mean, it was on point. I mean, that ball was just dropping. Okay. He still has something there to give. And I really do play to the fact that guy that's changing a scenery like that, you get a little amped up, you step on that mound, it's like 120 degrees out, the humidity, you can just see every baseball player. My wife was watching it with me, and she's like, why are all the baseball players' jerseys unbuttoned halfway down? She's like, I don't want to see all that man crew hanging out of their shirts there. They were all hot out there last night. And being on that mound pitching, that definitely plays a factor. So I think all those scenarios put together, I was perfectly fine with the performance he put out there for his first game with the Phillies. Yeah, we would have all liked to have seen him go 7 innings, strike out 10 guys, and, dominate the Washington Nationals. But all things considered, I think it was a successful debut, and it's a good sign of what the average Noah Syndergaard is going to be the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I got a chance to catch some of the pregame show with you and Dylan, and you kept using the word amped up. He's going to be amped up. And I think you're 100% right about that. But sometimes I think being amped up can actually have the opposite effect. Yeah. I think maybe the nerves and the heat combined is why he kind of, wasn't spot on. But like you said, most of the hits were bloop hits. It wasn't like he was getting knocked around. It wasn't like the bats were coming off 100 miles an hour off his, off the pitches. I think Noah Syndergaard, I think he'll fall in the middle. I don't think yesterday was like, he's not going to give up 11 hits every game.
Right, exactly.
You're right. He's going to average about 5 to 6 innings, which is exactly what he's averaged. He's going to give up 3 to 4 runs, sometimes maybe less. Yeah. He's had a couple of games where he's only given up, no runs.
I think he's had 2 games where he's had no runs. So he's going to be what he was last night. Occasionally he's going to be better. Once or twice the rest of this year, he might actually be worse. but he's going to fall into that quality start, 6 innings, 3-run time frame every time, and that's all you need. Especially
he's a third or fourth starter.
Exactly
what he is.
Exactly, and with the way this bullpen is now constructed and the way they're pitching, that's all you need. If you get 6 innings and you're winning when Noah Syndergaard comes out of the game, that's all you need because you've got David Robertson, you got Sir Anthony Dominguez, Alvarado, Hand, Knievel. You've got 5 guys in your bullpen, Brogdon, that could come in that 7th, 8th, 9th inning, depending on the situation, and shut the door on any opposing team. So I think it's still a win. And I got a little frustrated seeing the instant overreaction from fans that just can't wait to bash somebody at any moment's notice. And I know you see it too all the time on social media. It's like, they just hope. It's almost like they hope trades, signings, teams fail just so they can be negative about it. And it was kind of frustrating because did people really expect Noah Syndergaard to go 9 innings, strike out 20 batters last night in his debut? I mean, if that's what they expected, then they're clueless to baseball.
Phil, when we signed Zach Wheeler, there was a ton of people that were bitching and pissed off.
I was concerned about
A, because he was a Met, and B, because everyone wanted Garrett Cole, and everyone wanted Garrett Cole. I remember I was flipping out.
Who didn't want Garrett Cole? I mean, Garrett Cole's one of the best pitchers. I mean,
but the funny thing is, if you look at it now and you look back at the contracts and what they've done, I mean, Zach Wheeler's produced better than Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
He's got more wins. He's got a better ERA, more strikeouts. So, probably Garrett Cole has more strikeouts. But anyway, needless to say,
spitfiring on that one.
People in this town will get – it's kind of revisionist history. They forget. Yeah. And I think Noah Syndergaard, a lot of people wanted that controllable piece. And the fact of the matter is we didn't have to give up those prospects that we would have if we did get a controllable piece. And like Absolutely. I said, listen, we can play Monday morning quarterback all we want, but I'm happy with Noah Syndergaard. I'm happy that we addressed the position. If we had not addressed it, I would have been nervous. I mean, you heard Dave Dombrowski after they made the moves, right? He said they almost didn't get him. They didn't. They thought they weren't going to get a pitcher. That would have been unacceptable. So
exactly.
Let's be happy that we.
It was like 15 minutes before the deadline. He got the call from the Angels and let's do it. 15 minutes to the deadline, he did not think they were going to upgrade the pitching staff. So that's big. All right, another thing from last night's game I want to touch on. Alec Bohm, 3-run home run last night. Some great plays in the field. I am so glad, and I was ready to jump ship. I won't admit. I'm always one to admit it, when I'm wrong. I was ready to jump ship late last year, beginning of this year on Alec Bohm because he was just struggling. But then I started to turn a corner as soon as he admitted and didn't try to hide the fact that he said, I effing hate this place. He owned up to it, man. At least I gained some personal respect for the guy. And slowly but surely, he's turned his season around, and he is becoming one of the best hitters. He's not – right now, he's probably the best hitter on this team right now, at least, because of the current stretch. I am so glad the Phillies did not give up on Alec Bohm, Jason, because, I mean, he's on it. I'm thinking in my mind now, after – trying to think back to his rookie year and how he played to how he's playing now. And I'm trying to think in my mind, how high on the ladder can Alec Bohm climb? Because he's athletic. He's got a great swing. It's an effortless swing. He's getting better in the field. He's still no Gold Glove third baseman, but he is getting better. How high can Alec Bohm climb? Because, I mean, that 3-run bomb he hit last night, I mean, last year he's not hitting that home run. He's driving the ball everywhere. I mean, I'm very impressed with where he has been able to take himself after as low as he's fallen in this organization as a player.
I mean, absolutely. I think I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't want Bohm because I'm very high. I've been high on the kid forever. And I know with baseball players, a lot of times you have to be patient.
Right.
I mean, he still is very young. He's raw talent. Obviously, we know his deficiencies in the field, but he has worked at it. The key is that, yes, he had a step back last year. It was a regression. But the way that he's hitting now, it's basically back to what he was doing
His
rookie
year.
year. And the fact of the matter is he's driving the ball. And I don't think Alec Bohm will ever be a 25, 30 home run guy. But
Right.
I think he's capable of hitting 15 to 20 home runs,
Mhm.
but he's going to hit 300. He could have a batting title. He's
He
that
could.
good of a hitter. I really believe that. And we are blessed that we have him, and we're blessed to have Stott.
So here's a question with Alec Bohm. In last night's lineup, we talked about it on the pregame show when Segura was announced he was playing. Everybody just instantly assumed when Segura came back, he would get bumped back right to where he belonged in the 2-hole. And they put him in the 7-hole last night. Left Alec Bohm in the 3-hole. And I know there's the thread that you want Bryce Harper coming up in the first inning every game because that's what you do. Is there a scenario where the Phillies should leave Alec Bohm in the 3-hole and put Bryce Harper in the cleanup spot because you want your best pure hitter in the 3-hole? And I'm not saying he's better than Bryce Harper, but at least he's hotter right now. You know what I mean? He's getting on base at a high clip. He's hit base hits, doubles, whatever. You've got to leave Alec Bohm at the top of the order.
I mean, the scenario for me when Harper comes back, obviously we don't know when that's going to be. He was talking yesterday that it couldn't be maybe still till not back. It could not be till September.
Right.
He's not giving a date, which I understand that. He doesn't want to say a date and then not happen. And
right. He's covering himself.
I know that if he'll do everything in his power to get back ASAP. I know that about Bryce. I don't think Bryce Harper, to me, I don't think it would be a slap in the face if he was put in the cleanup spot because he hits home runs. I mean,
he drives the ball, he drives home runs.
I wouldn't be upset about it. I wouldn't. I mean, I don't think, you look at Rob Thompson, I know it was better late than never, but he did move Castellanos finally, and it's helped.
Castellanos is starting to hit the ball.
He's turning the corner.
Absolutely.
So, I think it makes sense, and I like Schwarber and Reese at the up where they're.
I know people are going to say move the top of the lineup around, but I think Rob Thompson likes it too. And overall, I think they've been pretty consistently decent at that 1-2 spot there.
Yeah, I mean, if I had it my way, I think Schwarber would be the cleanup hitter, but that's just me because he hits home runs. And I would have Segura leading off, but that's. I think it's like semantics at this point. It all depends on, what your preference is. But the bottom
line is if this offense is clicking and Harper's back, it doesn't matter who you put where, because honestly, outside of Marsh and Stott will be your worst two hitters. Everybody else in this lineup, if they're all clicking at the same time, it doesn't matter where you put them because they're all that potentially good at any position. So it's like you got a bunch of 1 through 4 hitters when they're all on at the same time.
Yeah, and I think, we've talked ad nauseum about the streakiness in the lineup.
Absolutely.
But it would be nice if, Bryce Harper comes back and all of a sudden all these guys just start clicking. I'm not saying, every one of them having, 300 average and whatever, but I'm saying it would be nice to just have some consistently – instead of having a 13-run game and then going 4 games with 2, I'd like to see some, just 6, 6, 6, score – runs and keep scoring more than the opponent. Stay on point, keep beating them, and keep up with our starting pitching because obviously Zach Wheeler's back. Zach Wheeler had an awesome start his last start. He's starting to look like the Zach Wheeler of last year. I know we've talked about that too, how he hasn't been the same with the eye test, but I'm starting to see that even get better. Aaron Nola has been, obviously plus this year. So I think the lineup. You're right, Phil. I think it doesn't really matter. I think it depends. I just think we'll see. Let's see what happens when Harper comes back.
I do agree with this comment from Carter here. When Schwarber hits a leadoff home run in the beginning of the game, it does give a jolt to the team, and that's a very, very fair point.
And you know what? I've also said every time I say I think Schwarber should be in the 3 or 4 hole because of the home runs. Well, let's face it. The only time he comes up generally leading off is in the first inning. He could come up in the 3rd inning and have 2 men on base and hit the home run. So it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a lot of times.
I think who's in the 1 and 2 and 3 hole only matters in the first. I think it is a little overblown. All right, so tonight's game. I don't know if tonight's game is going to happen because there's thunderstorms projected. tonight and tomorrow night and stuff like that. So there's a chance tonight's game does not happen. But tonight's game, and I want to spend literally only 2 minutes on this, is another game on Apple Plus TV or whatever the frick it's called. And everyone, I put out a tweet yesterday bitching and moaning about it because I think it's unfair and it's a bad look for baseball to do that. And I was like, oh, just download the app or this. Look, I'm old school. I don't even have a smart TV. So if I want to watch it, I can download the app. It's free trial. I could move my laptop into the other room. I could plug an HDMI. I don't want to do all that. And I'm a 41-year-old guy that knows how to do that. Can you imagine the millions of Phillies fans that are 60 years old and above? They don't know how to do all that stuff. It's a bad thing. And it's a trend in all sports, moving to the streaming sites for one game here and there. Dude, I can't stand it, Jason. It really pisses me off. And now there's another game on the schedule. They just added another one later in August to Apple TV. It really pisses me off, Jason.
Yeah,
I know my man Big Ed. I don't know if he's still watching. He was watching earlier. He commented, no offense, Big Ed, but I'm guaranteeing you don't know how to get Apple TV working on your TV.
I agree with you, Phil. It's a disgrace. It's absolute, slap in the face to the average fan. That the fan, not just the average fan, the older generation, like my dad. I know he's not. He called me the one day I was at work, and he's like, Jay, I can't get the Phillies game. He was all upset. I'm like, Dad, it's on Apple Plus. We don't have it.
Yeah. Look, all right, so the Phillies they're 9 games over 500. They're trending in the right direction. They're going to be a playoff team potentially. But still, the average fan doesn't want to have to work hard to watch the Phillies. It's baseball. If it was football, it's different. Yeah, when we were in Mexico last year for our anniversary, Melissa and I was going all through my phone trying to find an illegal stream to watch the Eagles game. I'm not going to do that for the Phillies. And I love the Phillies. Yeah. Nobody wants to work hard to watch a baseball game, especially on a Friday night. So
there's a million other things to do.
Exactly. I think it's a bad trend that baseball is doing this. All right, if you want to make a national deal to do this, you still got to put it in the local markets on the local channel somehow. You really got to make a deal to do that, and I think it's a big deal. All right, one final baseball topic before we move into Eagles here. So Major League, the MLB Network released a thing. I don't know who does this, but I found it on their website. The Heart and Hustle Award. Every team they award the Heart and Hustle Award to. One player from each team. Okay. The Phillies winner of the Heart and Hustle Award this year, Rhys Hoskins. Thoughts on that? Do you think Rhys Hoskins is the Heart and Hustle Award winner? I would think it would be Bryce Harper, but he hasn't played so much. Is Rhys Hoskins the heart and the hustler of this team?
No, I think Schwarber. If anybody, if you're not going to pick Harper and it's because he's been out, then it has to be Schwarber. I mean, it can't. How can you? I mean, listen, I like Rhys Hoskins. He's had an okay season, but he's not. I don't think Rhys Hoskins hustles. Rhys Hoskins seems to be like a kind of guy that's like.
I'm not saying he doesn't. He doesn't not hustle.
I'm not saying he's not. Yeah, but the heart. Do you think he's the heart?
I was actually going to go with Alec Bohm. I don't know. I don't know nothing about this. It literally popped up on my page 5 minutes before the show. So I literally did no research into the parameters of this award.
Alec Bohm.
I just said Alec Bohm, and look, Carter's saying it here too. Overcoming his struggles and what he is doing now, that shows heart, determination, hustle, effort. I would have thought Alec Bohm. Casey checking in saying Stubb had more heart than hustle, and then Hoskins. Yeah, I don't know what the parameters were of this award, but just on the initial seeing the graphic, my mind says Hoskins wasn't the winner of this award. I don't know.
I mean, I've never heard of it, but okay.
After the show this weekend at some point, I'll find this graphic and I'll dig into what the actual parameters were of this award. But yeah, it's just something that sparked, instead of doing what's trending right now, I saw this and I'm like, yeah. It also made me think, Jason, it'll be a good segue into the Eagles conversation. I know you did Drunk on Ice last night. Flyers, Sixers, Eagles. Who would win the Heart and Hustle Award on the other teams in our city? And just real quickly, Flyers, I have no clue. Sixers, I was debating between Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey. And, of course, the Eagles. It's got to be Jalen Hurts.
Heart and hustle on the Eagles?
On all the teams, the Sixers, the Flyers, the Eagles. Save the Eagles for last there. Who would you give the Heart and Hustle award to first on the Flyers and the Sixers?
I mean, definitely Sixers. I'm going Maxey.
Okay.
Flyers?
Nobody?
I mean, I guess I'd say Cam Atkinson.
Yeah.
He's a guy with high energy guy. Carter Hart, you could say, because he's young and he's the heart of the team. No pun intended. And Eagles. That's true. Scotty's right.
Yeah. And a torn meniscus. So yeah,
How can you go against that? You're right.
No, exactly.
See, I don't know what the parameters are. Like
exactly, I don't know what the parameters are either of this award.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know.
All right, but on the Eagles, because we're going to transition to Eagles talk here, is Jalen Hurts the heart and hustle of this team? Howie's not a player on the team. I do know one parameter; it had to be a player, so it can't be Howie Roseman.
I'm going Jason Kelce.
Jason Kelce. That's a fair choice on the heart and hustle of the team.
I have to go Jason Kelce.
Carter's saying Jason Kelce as well. Interesting. All right, so we are now through another full week of training camp. Next Friday, first preseason game, which just to let everybody know watching, got Chris Franklin coming on next Friday morning before the first preseason game to give us a hands-on account of what's been going on at training camp. I want to get into more different conversations. We've been talking Jalen Hurts a lot, and I'm sure Jalen Hurts will be a part of these conversations for the next 35 minutes.
He's always
because
a part of the
whether you're talking about the defense and how they're looking in practice or the wide receivers or whatever,
we always go back to Hurts.
Everything always gets linked to the quarterback. Whether it's whoever the quarterback is always such a focal point in football. So the wide receivers, we know with the wide receivers that A.J. Brown is number one. Devontae Smith, it's got a little minor groin issue. They don't think it's anything big. You see actually a few little nicks and bruises happening in camp. And this is why you don't practice harder, because nicks and bruises you can overcome. Torn ACLs, there's like 5 guys that got torn ACLs in the last 3 days across NFL training camps. That's why you don't practice to that heavy level anymore, because I'd rather them get hurt in a meaningful game than in a practice. We know A.J. Brown's 1. Devontae Smith is 2. We know Quez Watkins is 3. The rest of the wide receiver room is starting to intrigue me. And I got the Eagles depth chart. You've got on the wide receivers outside of the top 3. You've got Jalen Reagor. You got Greg Ward. You got Zach Pascal. You got Jonathan Hightower. You got Britton Covey, who seems to be impressing a lot of people massively. You even got Devin Allen, who was the track star. He hasn't really impressed people in camp from what I've read. Seems like Jalen Reagor is impressing some people. And there was reports yesterday that teams are still calling Howie Roseman because they do actually want Jalen Reagor. My question is, first off, why have they not just – if somebody calls and says, hey, I got a 5th-round pick for you for Jalen Reagor, why doesn't Howie just say, sure, sign it, let's get it done? I think in the track record of Howie Roseman since he took back over in 2016 is 5 wide receivers in camp or leave the team out of camp. I'm seeing 6 wide receivers on this team. And I do think it's a tough choice on where to go because I think there's a lot of good options on the back end of this wide receiver team and depth chart. What are your thoughts on, why Jalen Reagor hasn't moved? Is there still is Howie Roseman, is Jalen Hurts, is Nick Sirianni, all the people that have some form of say in who the wide receivers are, are they still holding on to hope and what they're seeing in practice, or should they just move on from now?
I mean, where I stand. I think they should just part ways, kind of like the Mickey Moniak, just give the guy
a fresh
start, change the scenery. But I do think in that room, I think in Howie Roseman's mind, there's still a little bit of angst towards admitting, fault.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the fact that you're hearing reports that he's doing well in camp kind of reaffirm that, reason why he hasn't been moved yet.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that Jalen Reagor, I think we all agree he has some talent. It's not like he's some dude. You're not a first round pick in the NFL if you can't play some football. Mm-hmm. Was he picked too high? I mean, I think we all agree. I see the guy that I really like after those top three. I mean, obviously, as you said, AJ, Devonta, and Kez, they're kind of locked in. But I like Zach Pascal. Mm-hmm. I like him a lot. I think the reason they got him was, he obviously Sirianni's familiar with him from playing in Indy. And I think he's a guy that can really surprise. I don't, obviously think he's going to catch 60 passes, but he's definitely got a lot of ability. And I think having him definitely gives you the green light to move on from Reagor.
Right.
If you didn't have a Pascal, then I might say, well, they should maybe keep Reagor around. But you have Zach Pascal.
Right.
You have Greg Ward, which I know Greg Ward's not the flashy, popular name, but Greg Ward knows the team.
He does.
And I do know that this Brittany Covey guy, I mean, he has a shot to make the team because he's a returner. The guy.
Yeah, so I want to talk about Britton Covey for a second because I don't know who he is. So before the show, I was doing a little research. He's a small guy, like 5'7", 5'8". He might weigh 170 pounds with full pads and helmet on. He's a small guy. But the thing, he went to the University of Utah 1 year, played really well, then had to take 2 years off because he did his mission. He's a Mormon, and if you don't know, they got to do their missions with their religion and stuff. Came back, played 2 more successful years, at the University of Utah. Went undrafted. We picked him up. He's already 25 years old as a rookie. He's great punt and kick returner possibility right there. He's small. He's that prototypical slot guy, small guy that finds his own. He's a wide receiver, but that Darren Sproul, type guy that can just get out, and find an open space, sit down, catch the ball, and then do what he has to do. I think there's a legit chance at this point that Covey is making this team. And that's why I'm sitting here. If Covey is not going to be our 5th wide receiver on this team. If Covey makes the team, that means Howie Roseman goes to 6 wide receivers, which then says you got your 3 starters. You got Pascal probably 4, Covey 5, and Reagor 6. That means Ward. That means Hightower. Those guys aren't on the team. I really firmly believe that Covey has put himself in a position to make the Eagles team. And if he's as flashy as it seems and what I'm reading in the kick and punt return, that's another dimension to this team because we've really struggled for a couple of years now at the punt and kick return position. Reagor obviously can't do it. Ward can catch the ball, but Ward can't actually make any positive ground after he catches the ball. Would you be confident putting a rookie kid? Well, he's not a kid. He's 25. Would you be confident putting a rookie back there as your punt and kick returner?
Yeah. I mean, listen, we have not had the last dynamic returner that we had was probably Darren Sproles. I mean, and that's going back a couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, Darren Sproles was obviously phenomenal at doing that. And obviously, at running back as well. But I would not be opposed to having a guy that's going to give me the ability on every kick return to possibly hit a home run. And that's what Covey is. Reagor, we all know his deficiencies. Mm-hmm. As you said, Greg Ward, he's just kind of
George brings up an excellent point. And George, to sum up your point, I'll say it's the Paul Turner syndrome. Everybody was all hyped up about Paul Turner a few years back in training camp, and he never even saw the league again. So George makes an excellent point. Are we just overhyping a guy because of training camp? And when it comes down to it, Howie Roseman doesn't give those guys the shot normally, and it's going to be the 3, Pascal, Ward, and Reagor. The known gets the shot. What does he have to do in preseason and camp, this Covey kid, to actually not just impress the fans and the reporters, but also Howie Roseman? Be like, all right, I'm gonna cut Greg Ward, Mr. Reliable, for the unknown. How much more does he have to do, and what does he have to do to prove that he's that guy?
Someone's saying Covey gives Welker vibes.
Yeah, I've heard quite a few people say that Wes Welker, former Patriots wide receiver, a lot of people are reporting that, like the reporters saying that that's what they see fans that have been in attendance at practices, a lot of people are saying he gives out like, so Wes Welker Jr., because, Wes Welker was a junior, that kind of vibe. So, but what does he have to do to prove, Howie Roseman, for as great of an offseason he had, Howie Roseman is a very predictable guy for the most part. He does the same style of thing all the time. And the Paul Turner syndrome, he never actually follows through and lets those guys make the team right out of camp.
I mean, I think you're seeing Nick Sirianni get more.
Fair point. I know exactly where you're going.
Power and more, ability to make, personnel decisions than he had in his rookie year. I think the fact that they brought Zach Pascal here shows me that, like, on the surface. Obviously, I'm not reporting. I'm not, in on it, around the team. But as a outsider and, the what's the word I'm looking for? The optics of it, that tells me that Sirianni has a lot more say than we think.
Okay.
I know we've been programmed to believe that Sirianni was just a puppet when he was brought here, but I think I think if Brittany, it's Britton. If Britton,
I want to say Brittany all the time.
I know. If Britton Covey has a good camp, I think he should absolutely have a shot to make the team because they have not had a good returner in forever. And not having a good returner can actually hurt you. As a football team, let's face it, special teams is still an important part of the NFL game. It might not be the be-all, end-all, but we tend to just ignore it a lot, because it's offense and defense. But to have a good special teams can actually be the thing that separates you from the competition.
Absolutely.
And having a guy like that's kind of, dangerous to the point where he could return a kick anytime. I want that on my team. I want that. So I think I'll give you this. If he has a punt return for a touchdown in preseason, I think he makes the team.
Okay. All right. I got two more wide receiver points because I want to talk other things too with the Eagles right now. So what is it going to take for Jalen Reagor to not be on this team? So they're not going to cut him. I know George will agree with this. I know a lot of people in the comment section will agree with this. Howie Roseman, unless something massively crazy happens, he's not going to cut Jalen Reagor. But there are multiple reports from multiple Eagles reporters saying that Howie Roseman is still getting calls. Supposedly there was a report yesterday. I don't know if it was Chris Franklin or somebody else that said Howie got another call from Baltimore who was calling on him on draft day. And obviously he's a first-round drafted player. Okay, so George is saying a third-round pick will get it done. Okay, so he's a first-round drafted player. He's playing at a seventh-round level. Teams are probably offering a sixth-round pick for him. Howie says no, he's going to hold on to it. At what point does Howie need to get if Howie's waiting to get a third-round pick, I think he's waiting too much. If somebody called and offered me a fifth for him, I'm probably taking that because I don't think you'll be able to get much more than that. But Howie's trying to hold out for the most possible value there. At what level does Howie say, all right, sure, fine, you can have Jalen Reagor?
I think a fifth rounder.
You think he would accept a fifth rounder?
Yeah.
I don't know if he would accept it. I think he should accept it, but that's the stubborn part of Howie right there. All right, so first off, I want to just, because it's the second time you said something like that, stop booing the kid. All right, so the kid does get a lot of flack. But the problem, George, is he also gives it back. He in Philadelphia, we don't want a kid that's going to, John Clark tweets out a comment, how Jalen Reagor has a bad day at camp. And then he has to come on to social media and say, stop that camp bash shit, whatever, and act all like whatever. He has this, everybody against me. Well, go out and prove it. You want fans to cheer you? You want a chance? Go out and prove it. Not just in practice, in games, in preseason, whenever. You got to prove it. You've got to earn the respect of the fans, too.
We've talked about this. Use it as motivation. Like, stop being a little baby about it.
Exactly.
Like, go out and prove that you are worthy of being on this team. Go out and have a camp of all camps. I mean, why do athletes act like it's such a listen, I don't condone anybody going in somebody's DMs or going on there and calling people names or calling them whatever. But booing or saying, yo, you got to step it up, dude, that's part of the game. Like,
so he has every right to give it back. That's correct. But you know what? He needs to handle it better if he wants to stop it. You know, and that's all it is. Like, he can't handle the off the field part of being a professional athlete. You know, and you know, he just needs to be a better off the field. He's got to handle the mental aspect of being a pro athlete a little bit better.
I mean, I do think there are some things to the fact that, you know, we saw how he's canceled his,
multiple
times. I know there was those reports that he was having, mental health issues and
he's had a really rough life.
Listen,
I know his best friend passed away, and I think a family member passed away last year. He's going through some personal issues as well, and the booing does not help.
And it was rotten. It was rotten when people were, going at
exactly.
him.
We had a show about that. Didn't we do this? That people were taking it too far. Absolutely agree that people on social media, the keyboard warriors, take it too far. I totally the 10% of the people, but the people like us that just criticize him on a fair level isn't taking it too far. It's just us talking about what we see. Being honest, it's not, and it's not that we have hatred in our heart for the guy. I would love Rager to be good. I would love Rager I think with Rager, it's time to put up or shut up. Scotty, you're 100% right. It's just like, dude, show us you can play or stop. Like, that's why I say I think it's time to move him, because I think it's just one of those things where he's just not going to succeed here in Philly. He doesn't have a tough skin. He doesn't have the intestinal fortitude to play in this town. He just doesn't. It might be just best for him as a person. Organizations always say they care about their players. It might be time for the Eagles to be like, all right, you want to give me a 7th-round pick? Fine. Because the person, Jalen Reagor, needs the fresh start for his own mental health and mental safety. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to take this really far or anything, but, just getting him out of Philly in a fresh start might be best for the person, Jalen Reagor, so that, he can just find his way. Find his way as a person, as a human. Look, I'm not trying to say this, but, the stress and the anxiety and the depression that comes from social media can force people to harm themselves and do bad things. And I don't know how, based off of what I see and how he reacts to things on social media, it would be, and he's had a lot of awful things in his personal life. Look, get the guy out of here. But again, if he's not offered Howie Roseman a pick, I just don't see him doing it. I got one final wide receiver thing, and he's missed a lot of time. He actually was at practice limited yesterday for the first time, and that's Zach Pascal. And he knows, Nick Sirianni's offense from his time in Indy together. Is there a scenario where Jalen Reagor makes this team, Britton Coven makes this team, Greg Ward makes this team, and Zach Pascal does not make this team? He is behind everybody else by 10 days. He's not a superstar wide receiver. We're talking about keeping the higher upside guys. If you cut him, you lose $1.5 million, and that's it. Once again, I don't see it happening because I don't either, but it's something that's been in my head. I think Nick Sirianni connection there, and I think he has more say in the personnel, and I think Zach Pascal will make the team just because of that. Yeah, I agree. I don't call it favoritism, but what I will say is I think coaches do have familiarity with certain players. And I think, if Nick Sirianni, if we're seeing this stuff with Jalen Reagor, you think Nick Sirianni's not seeing it? Yeah. I'm sure he is. So I don't see that scenario, Phil, but maybe I would be proven wrong. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't think it'll happen. But in my mind, I'm like, when you sign a guy in off season for $1 million, not $1 million would be a lot of money to me and you, but in the grand scheme of things, $1 million is not a lot of money to a football player, on a football team. It's not like we signed him to a 2-year, $10 million deal. He got a 1-year, $1.5 million deal. I looked it up before the show. It's $1.5 million in dead cap space if they cut him. That's nothing in the grand scheme of things. And if they see Reagor improving and don't get a 3rd-round offer for him, Britton Coven proves that he deserves to make the team. Look, we haven't even talked about Jonathan Hightower. Jonathan Hightower is still part of this roster at this point.
I think they could carry 6 wide receivers. If Britton Covey's the punt returner, I think that could happen. And then Pascal would make the team because it would be AJ Smith, Watkins, Pascal, Rager, Covey. Wait, did I just count that wrong?
I lost count on you there too. Look, it's something's going to have to give. I firmly believe he bucks the trend and carries 6 wide. Look, we're not going to be running the 12 personnel, so we're not going to be bringing 3 to 4 tight ends out of camp like normal. So you're going to have room to have a 6 wide receiver. I'm not saying that he's not going to make the team. The thought process, though, in my mind is if we want all these higher upside wide receivers, Zach Pascal may be on the outside. I don't know. I wouldn't want to lose. Let's say it this way. I wouldn't want to lose the potential of a Covey and another team pick him up because we kept Zach Pascal for 1 year. If there's interest in Rager, which there is, find a way to carry him, he doesn't get cut. Yeah, Rager's not going to get cut. That I think there's like an $8 million cap hit. I mean, he's only making a couple million, but I think his cap hit if Rager gets cut is like $8 million
over this year.
No, this is his 3rd year, so he still got next year is his 4th year. First round picks get 4-year rookie deals. Second rounds get 3, so he's still got 1 more. So you're not cutting Rager. You might trade him, but you're not cutting him. Greg Ward, we know people love him. Covey, Hightower won't make it. Hightower might make it back to the practice squad again. I don't know. Covey could probably get put on the practice squad at some point.
Is Jalen Rager the worst wide receiver of that draft?
I don't know. I mean, out of the first 2 rounds, probably. We'd have to go through that draft and see.
I mean, you get T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. Who else was in that draft?
There was a lot of great second round ones too.
That's what I mean. Man, it's just sad that.
All right, so I want to talk the offensive line next, real quickly here, and this is going to make George super happy. Okay, you noticed yesterday. So I was reading all the recaps of practice yesterday, watching some of the highlights that different reporters have posted on social media. So yesterday, Jordan Mailata and Andre Dillard were out with a concussion. How they got a concussion, I have no idea. They're barely making contact. And they got concussions. I just see, Hulk Hogan smashing 2 people's heads together, and that's probably how it happened. But it showed Clark, who's the 3rd string left tackle, struggled being that 3rd, left tackle. And I've talked about it before. Yeah, they are wearing bubble wrap, and they still got concussions. If you haven't seen the bubble wrap on the helmets that these offensive linemen are wearing, go look. It's hilarious looking. The importance of having offensive line. I've talked about before. We have the best offensive line in football, if not arguably the 2nd best offensive line. Our backup offensive line could start for other teams. And I've talked about the Jesse Bates, 2nd round pick and Andre Dillard. But I've also said, realistically speaking, multiple times, keeping Andre Dillard is extremely important because you need strong backups. 2 years ago, we had 14 offensive line configurations start over the course of a season. We need a strong backup because you never know. The value of a backup offensive left tackle or a guard is so valuable. And you see, going to the 3rd string, the drop-off. Supposedly, Jalen Rager had a run at practice yesterday more than the entire training camp so far because your 3rd left tackle, Clark, couldn't protect his blind spot. You got to keep Andre Dillard because you need an option there. If Lane Johnson goes down, you slide Mailata over, you got Dillard. If Mailata goes down, you've got Dillard. You got to keep that offensive line depth. And yesterday's practice showed how important it is because we don't want Jalen Hurts running as much as he's done. He needs to feel confident back there. Having a strong left tackle is part 1 of having confidence in a quarterback has in his offensive line. Right? We got to keep this offensive line together, right?
Yeah, I'm not moving any of the offensive linemen, even for Jesse Bates. I think if you were going to move anybody, it would be Hargrave. But, I don't know how that would work out. But maybe they would do a flip-flop. I'm not really looking at Jesse Bates. I mean, listen, we all would like him, but
because I'm saying not to trade for Jesse Bates now. I'm giving in to you, George. I'm saying not moving Dillard for Jesse Bates. That should make you happy.
it should. I mean, I think it's super, super ultra important that we keep our offensive line intact. And as you said, you can't predict injuries. And we know injuries happen on the offensive line, probably more at a rapid rate, more than any other position, maybe other than running back.
Yeah.
So I would not move any of these guys. I would keep them. It can't hurt to have the best offensive line and have the best depth at offensive line in football. And that's what the Eagles are. And I think that's what separates Jalen Hurts. I think a lot of people aren't talking about that is the fact that some of these other younger quarterbacks that kind of needed to show improvement played on bad offensive lines.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about Zach Wilson with the Jets. They've had a terrible offensive line. That in itself, not having a good offensive line is probably the biggest quarterback killer out there. And
we all remember 2 years ago when we had all those problems. What was his name? Jerome Brown or James Brown fixing his gloves mid-play instead of blocking Carson Wentz's blind side. We forget about how bad that year was. And a lot of the struggles of that team, a lot of Carson Wentz's happy feet and problems came from having a bad offensive line. We want to protect Jalen Hurts. We don't want him running for 800 yards this year. We don't want him hurting his ankle again because he's rushing too much. You got to keep that offensive line depth. And yesterday's practice, to me, proved that more than, ever before, because you can't have – look, I saw reports that, the second string were getting some work against the first string, and they were pushing Clark back and getting pressure. You just can't have it. You just can't have it. Oh, man, George. All right, anyway. So we're in agreement there. All right, so I want to talk about another guy, a guy that's going underlooked, I think, on this defense. So I want to talk the defense a little bit too here. Got about 5-7 minutes left in this show. Man, this show's flying by, Jason. I mean, it's just it's just going fast, rapid pace here.
What happens is trending.
I know, exactly. It's why trending, if somebody would want to pay us, trending would make 2 hours easy every single day. TJ Edwards. So I want we talk about Nakobe Dean, Kazir White, the upside that we have by bringing him in. Hassan Reddick, whether he's a stand-up outside linebacker or an edge rusher, whatever he is. I think people are forgetting how good TJ Edwards is and how important he is to this defense. And again, yesterday was the second or third time in a row that I saw and read reports about how great of a camp TJ Edwards is having. Yet no one's talking about him because of Nakobe Dean, because of Hassan Reddick, because of these other guys. Jordan Davis is getting all the love on the defense. Dude, TJ Edwards is as important, if not more, because he's got the experience out of the other guys. He knows Jonathan Gannon's system better than the other guys. And it's time to put a little respect and importance behind TJ Edwards. And, I mean, he's probably out of all our linebackers the best in pass coverage, out of what we've got. He's a decent run stopper. TJ Edwards is a very important piece of this defense that people are forgetting about. Silent killer, as KC calls him. Yeah, I mean, people are not putting any respect to his name because he's the silent killer. I want people to start recognizing the importance of TJ Edwards on this defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think many people, including myself, just automatically by default expect that Nakobe Dean's just going to start or be this, superstar. But listen, it takes time sometimes in the NFL to go from, college football to the NFL. And we have to see how Nakobe Dean, assimilates himself into this, roster. And I think so far the reports at camp are kind of, I would say, in the middle. Like, I haven't heard anything really bad about the guy, and I haven't heard anything really good about Nakobe Dean. I just think he's a rookie. And
he's progressing as a typical rookie would.
Exactly. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing anyway, because to me, you need guys that you need TJ Edwards type players. You need guys like that because the bottom line is, how do you think Nakobe Dean's going to get better? He's going to learn from TJ Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're right. I think just some people automatically just want to write those kind of guys off. And you kind of
they want to write them off. They just forget about them.
Yeah, or forget how good they are, or that they are good.
Let's not forget, at the beginning of last year, TJ Edwards wasn't even a starter on this team, I don't think. TJ Edwards had to earn his right. And that's when, Eric Wilson got cut because TJ Edwards started to impress, a couple weeks into the season. And then he started taking more snaps away from Alex Singletary and all these other guys. TJ Edwards is an important part of this defense.
Absolutely.
All right, one final point I want to make. And I saw, again, it was either McMullen or it was Chris Franklin yesterday was talking about the importance of how great this defense is performing in camp. And we see these inconsistent – we're not – like Dylan said, we need Jalen Hurts to stack great performances for the non-Jalen Hurts people to get confidence in Jalen Hurts in practice. And I kind of saw somebody talking about it yesterday where Jalen Hurts is going to have inconsistent practices because this defense is that good. And him having to go in practice against, in my opinion, a top 10 potentially defense, which is what I think we have at this point, is only going to make Jalen Hurts better. When he goes up week 1 against Detroit, who's got a bad defense, or Minnesota, who's got a bottom 15 defense, he's going to understand and be able to do things better because he's been practicing against a top-tier defense every single day in practice and in training camp. Is there really value in that theory there, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, what's the best offense? Defense, right?
I mean, he's got to throw against Bradbury and Slay and Maddox and all these guys every single day. That's good. That's good for him.
Yeah, and I think the people that are still kind of waiting on every report about Jalen Hurts, it just shows you the mentality. Like, listen, I'm not even looking at reports. That I've already told
I look at the reports every day.
I'm not going to look at it. I've told myself that for this reason, because I'm going to get upset and annoyed when people start freaking out about it. Like, it's practice. And this is why it does concern me a little bit that they're not going to play him at all in preseason, because I think you still have to play in a game scenario to show that you have shown improvement. It's easy in practice to kind of have those good and bad times, but I want to see some film in a game scenario where Jalen Hurts has to drop back and he doesn't see his first read and he's able to see a second read. I want to see that.
Yeah.
And maybe you're right. Maybe it might not come until week 1.
And that's the thing. And I was thinking about that, seeing them in preseason games. I was watching, look, during the rain delay, I flipped over really quickly to the first quarter of the Hall of Fame game, Jaguars, Raiders, which, by the way, on a side note, I got a little, fuzzy feeling when I saw Doug Peterson back on the sideline. It felt good. He belongs on the sideline of an NFL team, Doug Peterson. But then I turned on the game. It was like 12 minutes into the game, or 12 minutes left. So it was like 4 minutes into the game. And it was the second drive for the Raiders. And Josh Jacobs was out there running. And not just it was like a regular season game. And they're just pounding the rock with him up the middle. And I'm like, dude, I got high hopes for the Raiders this year. I think the Raiders are going to be a really good team this year. Why are you running your best running back in the Hall of Fame? The Hall of Fame game is the most meaningless preseason game of all. And if he goes down in that game, then that changes the whole course of the season. So I get it. It's the thread that me and Dylan talked about a lot this week. Oh, I was scared. I don't have him, but I want to draft him. So I was scared, Scotty. We talked a lot about this week, me and Dylan, about if a player's going to get hurt, they're going to get hurt. But I'd rather them get hurt in a regular season game than a meaningless game. At least it was for something that they got hurt. In a preseason game, it's meaningless.
Yeah, but I think you can look at it in one of two ways. They didn't used to have that same mentality back in the day.
They did.
And they got along just fine. Things happen just fine. I mean, yes, there's injuries happen.
Yeah.
But I think, And listen, I don't listen to talk radio a lot, but I do like John Ritchie on WIP. He's a former player. And so to me, I always take more stock in somebody that's played the game. To me, they know better than anybody. They've played it. They've been there, done that. He's definitely against this soft practice. Like, he thinks it's definitely soft, and it's not going to help the team get out to a fast start. So I just look at that as a concern. Like, I'm not saying you start all your starters, but I do think they need to have some work. I don't think you
have they said for officially that there's going to be 0 plays for Hurts? Because I haven't seen that. I still thought that there was still a chance that he's going to play four plays maybe in the first preseason, maybe 2 drives.
I haven't heard it, but I have a suspicion. I just feel that way, but maybe I could be wrong. Maybe he will, but
yeah, I think he gets a drive or 2 in the I think they put the whole offense out there for 1 or 2 drives, maybe in the second preseason game, but we'll see how that goes.
I mean, we could look at the running back room. Are they going to play Sanders, who gets hurt a lot?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or are you going to see more Gainwell? Or are you going to see Gainwell? You're going to see Scott.
Bryson Stott is going to be the running back for the Eagles this year?
Boston Scott.
All right, on that note, I think we're going to wrap Trending in the AM. Look, another great week of Trending in the AM. I just want to say I always have fun doing these shows and podcasting and content creation. The last 2 weeks, I've had more fun than I've had in ages doing it. So shout out to you, Dylan, Cole, everybody that's been on these shows, and Jason for the golf show, and Ricky, who was on a golf show 2 weeks. For some reason, I'm just having so much more fun, and I hope people notice it. Make sure you like and hit subscribe on the YouTube page if you're watching this on replay or watching now. We'd greatly appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a great week of trending. We'll be back next week. Monday, I won't be on Monday. Jason will have Dylan sitting with him next Monday. I got a big work thing in the morning, very early. I got to go in again, too. So, everybody, enjoy your weekend. It's going to be hot. It's going to be stormy. The Phillies, the Eagles will be back next week. Everybody have a great one, and go Birds.
Go Birds and ring the